The sun blazed over the sleek skyline of Doha, casting long shadows across the marble floors of the Al-Mansuri family villa. Inside, Layla Al-Mansuri adjusted the silk scarf around her neck and took a deep breath. Her morning ritual had always been the same: tea, sunlight, and silence. But today, silence felt uneasy. She placed her cup on the balcony rail, checked her phone, and froze. A new Instagram DM notification blinked on her screen. The username was unfamiliar: Desert Whisper, QA. No profile picture. No followers. Yet the message was chilling. I know what happened on the 17th at the old souk. Your secret is safe for now. Layla's hands trembled. The 17th was not just any day. It was the night of her brother Hamad's unexplained disappearance. A night only her family dared to speak of behind closed doors. She tapped the profile. Nothing. Empty. As if the account had been created solely for this message. She rushed to her younger cousin Salim, who handled security for their social media accounts. Track this for me, she whispered.
Now.
Salim's eyes narrowed. This IP is masked through a VPN. Whoever this is, they know what they're doing. What do they want? Layla muttered. As night fell over the Corniche, Layla's inbox lit up again. Another message. The truth never sleeps, Layla. Neither should you. Goosebumps crawled up her arms. Whoever was behind this wasn't just watching her. They knew her. They knew the silence her family worked so hard to maintain. And they were just getting started. The next morning, the heat of Doha clung to the city like a heavy cloak. Layla wandered through Souk Waqif, the old market where the mysterious message claimed something had happened. Her eyes scanned every narrow alleyway, every vendor stall. The place bustled with life. Tourists bartering, children laughing, spices thick in the air. But all she could hear were echoes. She reached the alley behind an abandoned pearl shop. The memory hit her like a desert storm. Hamad's voice, frantic. The glimpse of a shadow. The metallic thud. And then nothing. That was the last time she had seen him. Her thoughts were interrupted by a whisper. Not in her head, real. Looking for what's already been taken? A voice said behind her. She turned swiftly. A man in his 50s, dressed in a gray thobe, face half hidden by a keffiyeh, leaned against the wall. He didn't meet her gaze. Who are you? She demanded. He shrugged. Someone who remembers what people forget. Layla took a cautious step closer. Do you know what happened to my brother? The man chuckled without humor. Everyone in this city pretends the truth doesn't exist. But truth lingers, like the scent of oud in your scarf. He pressed a folded piece of paper into her hand and vanished into the crowd before she could speak. She unfolded the paper. A name and a location. Noura Al-Kawari. West Bay Towers. 18th floor. Layla's heart pounded. Noura was an old friend of her brother's, someone her family had quietly cut ties with years ago. No explanation was ever given. What did she know? Why now? And why was the message coming through strangers who knew too much? Back at home, Layla locked her door and searched her phone again. The DM account had disappeared. Deleted. As if it had never existed. But the paper in her hand felt far too real. And the 18th floor of West Bay Towers awaited. West Bay Towers stood like a monument of steel and silence. Layla's reflection followed her in the mirrored lobby as she stepped into the lift. Each passing floor added weight to her chest. By the time the lift opened on the 18th floor, her breath was shallow. She walked down a dimly lit corridor and stopped in front of flat 1806. The brass number shimmered slightly under the flickering light. Her finger hovered over the doorbell, but before she could press it, the door creaked open. Layla, said a calm, familiar voice. I've been expecting you. Noura Al-Kawari stood barefoot on a Persian rug, wearing an ivory abaya. Her eyes, once bright with youth, were now shadowed by something deeper. Regret. Or fear. Come in, she said, stepping aside. I assume this is about Hamad. Layla entered slowly. The apartment was minimalist, but one wall was covered in photographs, people, places, news clippings. In the center was a blown-up photo of Hamad, arms crossed, smiling. You still have this? Layla whispered. I never took it down, Noura said. I owe him everything. Layla turned to face her. Then tell me, what happened to him? Noura sat on the edge of a low couch and looked away. He got too close to something he wasn't supposed to see. He stumbled into something bigger than both of us. Layla frowned. What do you mean? There's a group, Noura said quietly. Powerful. Untouchable. They use the souk at night to trade information. Hidden deals. Names. Surveillance. Hamad was documenting it. He didn't know how deep it went. Layla's knees buckled. She sat opposite her. Are you saying he was targeted? Noura nodded. I warned him. He didn't listen. Layla stared at the wall of photos. In one, she noticed a face circled in red. The man from the alley. The whisperer. Who is he? Noura hesitated. They call him the Falcon. He used to work with the ministry. Now, he operates in the shadows. No one knows which side he's really on. Before Layla could respond, Noura's phone buzzed. She checked the screen and her face drained of color. They know you're here. A faint knock echoed from the door. 3 short taps. Layla's heart stopped. The knock came again. 3 soft, measured taps. Layla and Noura exchanged a glance. The air in the room had thickened, dense with unsaid fear. Noura silently walked to the window and pulled the curtain aside by a finger's width. He's alone, she whispered. But that means nothing. Layla's pulse roared in her ears. What does he want? Noura turned, her voice steady. He doesn't knock unless he wants something personal. Before Layla could respond, the door opened. Not by force, unlocked, deliberately. As though Noura had expected this all along. The man stepped inside. Dressed in black, eyes hidden beneath dark aviators despite the dim room. The same man from the alley. The same chill in his presence. Layla Al-Mansouri, he said, in perfect calm. You're asking questions that could turn very dangerous. Layla stood her ground. I just want to know what happened to my brother. The Falcon tilted his head slightly, like a bird listening for distant movement. Your brother walked into a storm. You may not want to follow. I'm not asking for permission, she said. Her voice cracked slightly, but she held his gaze. He chuckled, but there was no warmth in it. Bold. Like him. He walked slowly to the wall of photographs and studied the ones around Hamad. He trusted the wrong person, the Falcon said, not looking at her. The night he vanished, he wasn't alone. He had something. A drive. Names. Coordinates. Something people would kill to keep buried. Layla took a step forward. And where is it now? He turned at last. That's what they want you to find. And they'll watch you until you do, or until you disappear like he did. Before Layla could react, he walked to the door. You'll find your next answer at the Museum of Islamic Art, he said over his shoulder. Midnight. Bring no one, or the truth will stay buried. Then he was gone. Noura locked the door behind him with shaking hands. What if it's a trap? Layla asked. Noura didn't answer. Instead, she retrieved a hidden envelope from beneath the rug. Inside was a photo. Hamad, standing at the museum entrance, time-stamped the night he vanished. The same night Layla had told herself to forget. The Museum of Islamic Art loomed over the corniche like a watchful sentinel. By midnight, its white limestone walls glowed softly under the moonlight. The city behind it had quieted. Even the water of the bay seemed to hold its breath. Layla stood alone by the entrance, heart hammering. The museum was closed, of course, the great glass doors locked tight. But the side gate, near the loading dock, was ajar. Just as the Falcon said. She slipped inside, guided by the soft hum of distant ventilation and the faint echo of her own footsteps. The vast halls were empty, and the artifacts, calligraphy, ceramics, ancient scripts, cast long shadows under the emergency lights. In the central gallery, she saw something that froze her. A phone, placed neatly on the bench under a mosaic arch. Not her brother's, but its wallpaper was unmistakable. A childhood photo of them both at the desert camp. Only Hamad ever had that picture. Hands trembling, she picked it up. The screen lit up instantly. One message waited. Gallery 5. Second drawer. Be quick. Layla ran. The gallery was near the east wing, where ancient manuscripts were displayed. She entered cautiously, scanning the cases until she saw it, a wooden drawer built into the base of a display. She pulled it open. Inside was a flash drive and an old photograph. The drive was unlabeled. The photo showed Hamad again, this time seated at a long table, across from a man with a blurred face. On the back, a handwritten note. If they find this, it ends. Burn it before dawn. Suddenly, the sound of glass shattering pierced the silence. Layla spun around. A dark figure sprinted across the hall, knocking over a pedestal. Another followed, closer, faster. She grabbed the drive, shoved it into her pocket, and ran. She bolted down the corridor, back toward the loading dock. But the way she had entered was no longer open. Someone had shut it, locked it. Trapped. She ducked into the staircase, her footsteps swallowed by the concrete. Behind her, the sound of pursuit grew louder. Then she heard it. A voice, distorted, echoing through a security speaker above. Layla, you weren't supposed to find this. Layla's breath burned in her lungs as she climbed the stairs two at a time. The concrete walls echoed with every footstep, every thump of pursuit behind her. Whoever was following her wasn't trying to stay hidden anymore. She burst through a rusted door at the top, into a dark corridor she didn't recognize. The museum's archive level. Silent. Forgotten. Rows of steel cabinets lined the walls. Cold air leaked through the vents. She paused only long enough to catch her breath and listen. Nothing. Then a soft clang, metal on metal. Not far. Layla ducked behind a filing cabinet and drew out the flash drive from her pocket. Her fingers trembled as she held it up to the faint red light of the exit sign. No markings. No label. She needed to see what was on it. Creeping from her hiding spot, she followed a sign marked Staff Tech Room at the end of the hallway. The door was unlocked. Inside, the air smelled of old wires and dust. A row of outdated computers blinked lazily in the dark. She slid the drive into a port and waited. The monitor flared to life. A single folder. Password protected. Below it, a hidden file slowly revealed itself. It was a video. Layla clicked. The footage opened on a low-quality recording. Hamad's voice filled the room. "This is for whoever finds it," he said. "If you're watching this, I didn't make it out." Layla froze. The screen showed Hamad in a warehouse, the same one from the blurred photo. He looked exhausted, glancing over his shoulder every few seconds. They're using the sook to move people. Not just data. Something bigger. I recorded their meetings. Their faces. It's all on this drive. But it's not just politics anymore. It's betrayal. From the inside. Suddenly, the lights in the room flickered. Footsteps. "Close now." Layla grabbed the drive, yanked it from the port, and shut off the monitor. She ducked under the desk just as the tech room door creaked open. Boots stepped inside. Paused. A flashlight beam swept across the floor. It stopped inches from her foot. Then a voice, mechanical, unrecognizable. "She's here. Secure the perimeter." Layla held her breath. Waited. Then a hand grabbed her wrist from the shadows. She nearly screamed, until she saw the eyes. It was Nura. "Come with me," she hissed. "Now." The passage Nura led her through was barely wide enough for both of them. A maintenance tunnel, damp and echoing with the thrum of unseen machinery. Layla had no idea such tunnels existed beneath the museum. "Where are we going?" she whispered. "Somewhere no one's watching." "Yet," Nura replied. "But we don't have long." They emerged beneath a metal grate behind the museum, where the corniche curved toward the Souk Waqif. The marketplace, usually lively and loud, now lay still in the late hours. But beneath its cobbled alleys and spice-scented stalls, something stirred. Nura guided her toward a narrow shop with a faded green door. She knocked twice, then once, then 3 times. A pattern. The door creaked open. Inside was a maze of carpets and antique lanterns. And behind it another stairwell leading down. into darkness. They descended without a word. When they reached the bottom, Layla realized where they were. A forgotten part of the Sook's original foundation, built over, sealed, and now repurposed by shadows. It smelled of earth and rusted steel. "Who are we meeting?" Layla asked. "Not who. What?" Nura replied and pointed at an old projector resting on a crate. Layla set the flash drive into a small, adapted slot beside it. The machine clicked to life. The room was bathed in flickering light. Hamad's face appeared again. But this wasn't a message. It was footage. Surveillance. The camera showed a private majlis. A small group of men, faces clear, gathered around a low table. One of them, Layla recognized with a jolt, was Sheikh Marwan, her father's old business associate. Trusted. Powerful. "Are you sure the boy didn't make a second copy?" one of the men asked. "He's been silenced," Marwan replied. "And now we let the Sook wash it all away. No one will look beneath us." The room fell silent. Layla's throat tightened. She was watching the men who had betrayed Hamad, who had used the Sook not just to hide information but to move people, secrets, and maybe worse. Then the feed distorted. Another voice, not Hamad's, broke through. A female voice. "Don't trust Nira. She's not who you think." The projector cut to black. Layla turned slowly. But Nura was already looking at her. Calm. Almost too calm. "You weren't supposed to hear that," she said quietly. Layla stepped back, heart pounding. The room felt smaller, the shadows thicker. Nura's eyes were unreadable, not angry, not even surprised. "I trusted you," Layla said quietly. "I never asked for that," Nura replied. "But you're too deep now to walk away." There was a click. Nura held a small device in her hand, not a weapon, but something stranger. A transmitter. She pressed a button. Somewhere above, in the Sook, a low siren wailed briefly, then cut off. "What did you do?" Layla demanded. Nura didn't answer. Instead, she turned, opened a wooden chest, and pulled out a small canvas bag. From it, she handed Layla a piece of paper. "Coordinates. North of Alcor. The old site. Al-Jassasiyah." Layla narrowed her eyes. "The rock carvings?" "Yes. But not just that," Nura said. "There's a chamber beneath the site, hidden since the 70s. Hamad found it. It's where he made the first recording. It's where the truth still is untouched." Layla studied her closely. "Why are you helping me now?" Nura hesitated. "Because I was one of them once. And Hamad changed that." Before Layla could speak again, Nura turned to the side wall and knocked twice. A segment of the stone shifted, revealing a slim, sand-covered tunnel. "You've got one shot," Nura said. "This leads outside. Go now, before they realize we stalled them." Layla took a final glance at the room, the dead projector, and the silence that followed. She stepped into the tunnel. The walls closed behind her. Hours later, the desert air hit her face like a slap. She stood on the edge of Al-Jassasiyah, the remote site where ancient petroglyphs dotted the limestone rocks. No tourists. No security. Just wind and history. The coordinates led her behind the main hill, to a patch of earth scarred by time and half-hidden by shrubs. She brushed aside the sand until her hand struck something cold, metal. A trapdoor. She pulled it open, the hinges creaking in protest, revealing a ladder into pitch blackness. As she descended, her fingers slid against the cold rungs. The air smelled of dust, salt, and secrets. The chamber below opened into a wide room, hollowed into the rock. At its center sat an old reel projector and a single chair. Layla approached, heart in her throat. A note lay on the seat. "Play this. Then decide." She inserted the reel. The film began. And what she saw changed everything. The reel stuttered, then steadied. The flickering light painted the chamber walls with gray illusions. Layla stood frozen, her eyes wide, absorbing every second. The film showed Hamad, but younger, maybe 17. His voice was steady, but urgent. "If you're watching this," he said, "they've found me. Or worse. He paced in a small room, papers strewn across the floor. Screens behind him displayed live satellite feeds, maps of Doha, and what looked like transaction logs. They've been using Doha's shoreline developments as a front, laundering millions through real estate that doesn't exist. Phantom projects. Ghost ports.
He pointed at the map.
This area near Lusail? There's nothing there. But it's the center of it all. The accounts, the offshore links, all lead back to one name. Hamad paused. Marwan. Layla's breath caught. This isn't just about my family. It's about everyone who tried to speak up. My friend Omar disappeared after tracing one of the accounts. Miriam was arrested for leaking documents to a reporter, who later vanished too. He stepped closer to the camera. You'll be tempted to go public. Don't. Not yet. The only way this ends is if the real files, the ones I hid, are exposed with proof of where the money ends up. That's why I created the key. Layla's eyes darted to the flash drive still in her pocket.
The key.
Someone betrayed me. I never found out who. But if you're watching this, you must be close. Trust no one. Especially those who act like they already know. The footage ended abruptly. Layla exhaled slowly. She turned off the projector, heart racing, and climbed back into the open air. The sky above was dark, thick with desert clouds. A storm was building, sand and wind swirling in the distance. As she made her way south, toward Lusail, the landscape changed. Towers rose like silent sentinels along the coast, many still under construction. But now Layla saw them differently, as monuments to a hidden empire. She reached the edge of a fenced-off zone. Beyond it, cranes moved silently above skeletal buildings. A security truck rumbled past. Layla ducked, watching closely. She checked the flash drive. Still intact. Still glowing faintly. She remembered Hamad's words. You'll be tempted to go public. Don't. Then a sound. A soft crunch behind her. She turned. And standing there, between her and the desert, was Noura. But this time she was armed. The wind howled between the skeletal towers of Lusail, sweeping sand and silence through the half-built cityscape. Layla stood her ground, breath tight in her chest, as Noura stepped closer. Her weapon was small, not military, but dangerous in its simplicity. Don't move, Noura said. Layla didn't. You lied, Layla said coldly. You led me to the chamber. You gave me the coordinates. I did, Noura replied. Because I had to know if you were brave enough to get this far. And you were. She reached into her coat and pulled out a phone. A red blinked slowly on its screen. You've just triggered every silent alarm they planted around this district. Marwan's men will be here in minutes. Layla's mind raced. If you're one of them, she said, then finish it. But if there's still a part of you that remembers Hamad. Noura's eyes flickered. I remember too much, she whispered. A moment passed. Then Noura stepped back and tossed the phone into the sand, crushing it with her heel. You've got one window, she said. 3 minutes. Go to Tower 15, top floor. That's where the transfer servers are. Marwan never kept the data on networks. It's stored offline, in case anyone got too close. Layla didn't wait. She ran, boots kicking up dust, weaving through scaffolding and broken beams. Tower 15 loomed ahead, dark, half-finished, its lift shafts still open to the air. Inside, the stairwell smelled of rust and neglect. Each floor took precious seconds. Layla's legs burned by the time she reached the top. At the end of the corridor, she found a sealed room, steel door, half covered in dust. The flash drive pulsed in her pocket. She pushed it into the panel beside the door. Click. The lock disengaged. Inside was a clean, humming chamber, the only finished part of the building. Servers lined the walls, blinking lights dancing in sequence. A single monitor stood in the center. Layla stepped forward, connected the drive, and watched as it decrypted layers of files. Accounts. Names. Locations. Proof. She copied everything. Outside, the wind picked up. A rumble of engines echoed from the base of the tower. They were here. Layla glanced around. No other exits. No fire escape. Only the lift shaft, a vertical plunge into darkness. She pulled out her phone. One signal bar. Enough. She uploaded the files to a hidden cloud server Hamad had created years ago. The screen blinked green. Upload complete. Then footsteps.
Close.
Boots on metal stairs. Layla removed the flash drive, dropped it down the shaft. Let them think it died with her. She backed into the shadows, silent, heartbeat deafening. The door burst open. Marwan stepped in. Older now, cold-eyed, flanked by 2 guards. He scanned the room and saw the empty monitor. Too late. He turned, just as Layla emerged from behind the server racks, recorder in hand, still live. This, she said, is everything. For a heartbeat, time froze. Then, a crack of thunder. Lights cut. And chaos began.